And welcome to the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is the opening act of a big NBA on TNT Friday night doubleheader. Coming up later, the 76ers against the Lakers, featuring Allen Iverson against Shaquille O'Neal. But coming up now, it's the Toronto Raptors against the Charlotte Hornets. And good evening, everyone. Dick Stockton along with Hubie Brown and Reggie Theus. Plenty of buzz around these parts. The Hornets are hot. Vince Carter returns to Carolina, and his Tar Heels are in the Final Four with the national semifinal tomorrow. But this game tonight is a battle for the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference, and a victory by the Hornets will vault them over Toronto into the number 5 position as we get to the final stages of the regular season. And Hubie, the Toronto Raptors are struggling as of late. They have lost 5 of their last 6, including a tough loss in New Jersey. What's behind their slide lately?
Well, Dick, I like to think that they do not bring their A game night in and night out. This is backed up with 14 losses to sub-500 teams. Now, they do have a major upside. They are in the top 6 in 4 major categories. And by that, shot attempts, assists, fewest turnovers, offensive rebounding. And then in games decided by 3 points or less, dynamite. 12 wins and 4 losses. But we'd like to show you the last 18 games. Now, you can see they started out 11-1. Well, they're 1-5 in the last 6. Well, what's the problem? Sure, they're scoring 2 less points, and you can see in the first 12 there was a +3 points over the defense, and then a -7. Now, what's the problem there? Well, you can see the shooting at only 41%, and the opposition, Dick, is averaging over 100 points a game. A major no-no.
Yeah, too many 100-point pluses on defense, not the answer here. The Charlotte Hornets, on the other hand, have won 4 straight, and the only damper to them is the fact that their leading rebounder and second leading scorer, Derek Coleman, inflamed knee, is not going to play tonight. Now, this team has dominated Toronto, winning 2 out of 3, the last 2 games by margins of 21 and 18 points.
Well, you have to go back and look at the averages, and you can see that what they have done, the starters have averaged between 14 and 25 points, paced by Eddie Jones at 25. They have dominated the scoring, 10 points a game. The rebounding, a +12. Getting to the foul line, critical for Charlotte, a +12. And they're out shooting them 48-44, a total dominance. Now, the main guy in all of this and having a wonderful season is Eddie Jones, an all-star player, and you can see the 20 points, not bad shooting. He leads the league in steals, and then, Dick, he also gives you 5 rebounds a game. Not bad.
And Anthony Mason playing well as of late, so this Charlotte team is on a roll. It's not a good matchup for Toronto, but we'll see what Vince Carter, what kind of magic he can bring tonight as the Raptors try to end their slide and win on the road. And welcome back to the Charlotte Coliseum, getting ready for the game between the Raptors and the Hornets. It'll be Charles Oakley up front with Vince Carter, Antonio Davis at center, and in the backcourt, Tracy McGrady and Doug Christie for the Hornets. The big change there, Chucky Brown is making his first start in a Hornet uniform. Started 27 for San Antonio earlier this year for the injured Derek Coleman and the rest of the Cavs. Right now, let's send it out to Reggie Theus.
All right, thanks a lot, Dick. 2 guys that are not in the starting lineup for the Raptors tonight are 2 guys that started their career here in Charlotte. Its inaugural season, Del Curry and Muggsy Bogues. I talked to both players before the game, and they said the one thing that they remember most about playing here are the fans and the people that they ran into down here. Now, of course, Muggsy said he went to college only an hour away from here, and this is where he made his name in basketball, so this will always be his home court. Now, Del Curry, he had to buy 30 tickets tonight's game, and he said what he remembers most is that first game here. They were down by 40 points, and they got 2 standing ovations. So here's 2 guys that are at home playing in this building, and when they come in tonight, the fans will probably let them know.
All right, Reggie. Well, Muggsy can light it up, and Del Curry, in the 1 win the Raptors have against Charlotte, scored all 14 points that he scored that night in the second half, but one of the greats of that early days of the franchise.
Well, Del Curry is the leading scorer in the history of the Charlotte franchise. Muggsy Bogues, the leading assist man.
The officials tonight: Ronnie Nunn, Mike Callahan, and Rodney Mott. The Raptors losing in New Jersey 107-103 last night. The Hornets played Wednesday night and won at Detroit 98-91, shooting 56% in the fourth quarter. They have won 4 in a row and 3 straight on the road. Now Toronto has to turn it around on the road, and Vince Carter off a 39-point effort last night, but also hit with a technical foul. And it looks like the Raptors are having some rocky times as of late, trying to get the ship straight down the stretch. And the opening tip controlled by the Hornets.
When the Hornets are on their game, they're going to shoot anywhere from 28 to 35 foul shot attempts. They are very strong up front and definitely tough in the paint.
And here is Wesley hitting the first shot of the game. David Wesley with the basket, giving the Hornets the lead.
Well, he's on a tear right now. He has definitely picked up his game since the All-Star break. He's shooting a nice percentage, leading this team, and scoring a ton of points.
Vince Carter getting it down low to Antonio Davis, a power forward playing center as a starter this year. The former Indiana Pacer ties the game.
Well, that's what he does well. He's a good 10 to 15-foot jump shooter facing the basket.
And beating the Raptors down court, Eddie Jones. And you mentioned how great Eddie Jones has been lately for this team. Jones, the leading scorer, coming in averaging over 20 a game. And there is Christie trying to post up against Wesley and driving the baseline. All alone in the corner is Davis. Ball knocked out of bounds, last touched by the Hornets.
Now, in the early 2 possessions, Dick, for the Raptors, you can see that any time that a Raptor center or power forward posts up, they are not double teaming. But if Christie is in there in a mismatch with Wesley, we will see the double team quick.
Mason is guarding Carter, and that is a very tough matchup for Vince Carter, who uses a screen by Davis in and out, and Mason the rebound. Anthony Mason bringing it up, and the point forward, so to speak, leaves it for Eldon Campbell, puts the fake on Oakley and hits the shot, and the Hornets lead by 4.
Well, Anthony Mason is an outstanding passer. He can create off the dribble, and look for Eldon Campbell with that 15 to 18-foot jump shot.
Carter, very difficult to post up against the likes of Anthony Mason. A tough matchup. Carter has scored 18, 18, and 24 in the 3 games against Charlotte. Not up to standard. So the Hornets with a 4-point lead, nearly 2 minutes gone by.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested here because in the early going, no one is trying to break out of here quick on the fast break after a miss.
Campbell open on the pick and spot up, misses the shot. And that is the first miss from the field for the Hornets tonight. Here is Tracy McGrady going strong to the basket, gets the hoop and the foul. So Tracy McGrady, who played his prep basketball not far from here in Durham, North Carolina. Here it is, the 3-point opportunity.
Well, McGrady is extremely tough. He's a 6'8" shoe guard. The battle tonight with Eddie Jones will be interesting to watch. Now you can see right here Butch Carter
talking things over with Vince Carter during that free throw. There is Butch Carter, who's trying to get the team straightened out as a contract extension through the 2002-2003 years. Mason working his way in, and good defense inside Antonio Davis. It is 6-5 in favor of the Hornets. Eldon Campbell picked up that last foul for Charlotte, and 16 on the shot clock for the Raptors.
Well, in the possessions down the floor here, 4 straight times now they've looked to post up a different player. And it's going to be interesting to see, because what it does, it just slows down your continuity.
Mason trying to deny Vince Carter, now picking up Tracy McGrady on the switch. They go inside, and there is McGrady on a busted play, getting his second basket.
Well, Dick, he's the second leading scorer on the team, right at 15 points a game.
And coming back down after the turnover, McGrady, who has started 22 games coming into this one, misses a twisting layup attempt. Loose ball, and Eddie Jones corrals it.
Yeah, Eddie Jones has got to pay attention tonight. We know he's an excellent defender. He's an all-star player, but he's going to be challenged by McGrady.
The Hornets have outshot and out-rebounded their opponents 3 of the last 4 times, and when they do that, normally that's a victory. Anthony Mason with his first points. In fact, when the Hornets outshoot and out-rebound their foes, they are 14-0 on the season. Hornets regaining the lead by 1. Christie going down low. Antonio Davis missing the turnaround.
That was a nice back screen by Christie. Then when they came to the top, post your man right in front of the rim. Beautiful post-up. Unfortunately, no basket.
Here's Mason in the lane. Driving through, going up with a very difficult scoop lay-in. Good ad-lib by Anthony Mason.
In the early going, Carter is having a very difficult time defending Anthony Mason. He's just pulling him down on the post, and he's going right by him at ease off the dribble.
Carter hitting the shot. So Vince Carter with his first points of the game, coming in the 4th leading scorer in the league, averaging 26 a game.
Well, Paul Silas is up, giving the referee, Rodney Mott, some heat over the fact that Mason was knocked down, and that's how Vince Carter came open.
Campbell feeding Mason, the cutter coming in. The open down the middle, and Anthony Mason has 6 of the first 12 Charlotte points.
Yeah, Dick, it's okay to double team a guy on the wing, but somebody must pick up the cutter.
And a wild miss by Christie. So the Hornets, who have won 2 out of 3 and the 2 games in convincing fashion against the Raptors with a 3-point lead on the ball. Nearly 5 minutes have gone by in the opening quarter. Wesley off a screen hits, and Charlotte red hot from the field. They have hit 7 of their first 10.
See, Charlotte is giving us motion. They're giving us a fast break after a Toronto score up on the sidelines. They're giving us a nice post-up game. They're showing us a lot of offense.
Tracy McGrady misses from outside, and Mason the rebound. One of the big problems lately for the Raptors, Hubie, too many jump shots. And there is Chucky Brown on the drive. So Brown starting the game, misses the drive, and the Raptors come back.
Oh, wow.
Carter hitting a 3. Vince Carter wasting little time in hitting the 3-point basket, and it's a 2-point Charlotte lead.
I thought he was only an arm's reach from our table,
yes.
All right? I mean, that's how far he was behind the line.
Here's Eldon Campbell working on Antonio Davis with the hook shot. And getting the rebound is Davis for the Raptors. Toronto was in 4th position in the Eastern Conference for a while. Now could drop down to 6th if they lose tonight here at Charlotte. Vince Carter from the corner doesn't make it. Hornets have led virtually all the way in this first quarter with under 6 minutes to go. Campbell and Antonio Davis wrestling each other down low. Here is Eldon Campbell with a fall away. Eldon Campbell, who is pleasing Paul Silas now. It wasn't there before, but all of a sudden he turned his game around.
Well, we know that he's an excellent offensive player. All those years that Shaq would miss 20 to 30 games with injuries in L.A., Eldon would fill in with 18 points and 9 rebounds. Game after game after game.
Vince Carter playing a one-man game out there. Missing the shot, 16-12, and the Raptors get it back. Christie feeding Carter. Carter going in with a windmill hook, and he's fouled.
You have to be careful with Doug Christie. Doug Christie is excellent in anticipation, usually in the top 10 in steals. And then at the other end, we have Eddie Jones, who leads the league in steals. Now here we have just a strong move here with a jump step. You feel he gets away with a half of a move here, a half the step. They definitely could have called a travel in that situation. Here for Charlotte. The basketball is right here. The ball is going to be past Eldon Campbell. But keep an eye on the 3 guys who are high. That means their defenders have got to be above the line. Once the pass is made and the cutter cuts through, there is no one to pick him up because they go for the trap. You cannot do this. You cannot make that trap and then allow the cutter to go to the basket. You're going to run a layup drill.
Anthony Mason in the last 4 games practically averaging a triple-double, and he has come on big, and the best part of his game is the fact that he'll really punish people inside, and a great interior passer. Vince Carter is on the free throw line, and before the game asked him about his plans tomorrow. He says, I'm going to watch the North Carolina Tar Heels when they go against Florida in the semifinal in my home in Toronto all by myself. If you really want to concentrate on a game and not have
spoken like a true Tar Heel.
idle talk, you know, you watch the game on your own. Carter hits the free throws, and it's a 16-14 game. Carter off to a good start with 7. Chucky Brown going down low to Mason Oakley, defending Mason, 2 former New York Knicks. Mason double teamed, and he finds Campbell. Good pass inside to Brown. The ball knocked away. Getting a piece of it was Vince Carter.
Now the fans are kind of on edge right now. Chucky Brown has had 3 excellent opportunities, and he's 0 for 3.
Carter with the turnaround, and it's put through on the putback by Antonio Davis.
Well, we have 2 excellent offensive rebounding teams here tonight, so you must pay attention.
Tied at 16-16, and right now we want to welcome those watching in Canada tonight on TSN as the Raptors trying to clinch a 500 record for the first time in their 5-year history. They're by far their most successful season. Eddie Jones hitting a 3. So Jones, who has had big scoring games of 26, 25, and 25 points in the 3 games against Toronto, now has 5 points.
Well, that's a major part of his arsenal this year with Charlotte. He attempts 4 threes a game, and he's shooting it at 38%.
Winding down to 4 minutes remaining, and Vince Carter off the front rim. It goes out of bounds, and it's last touched by the Hornets, who lead by 3.
In the last 6 games for Toronto, they are 1-5. The reason being that Vince Carter is struggling. He's only shooting 34% in these 6 games. What happens now is that he needs more shots to get his points. So what's happening is too many people are standing around, and we can see that already in this first quarter.
Carter's already put up 7 shots in this first quarter with 3:45 to go. Backing in is Mason. That's what he does best. Anthony Mason now with 8 points. He leads the Hornets, who are up by 5.
See, right now on the last 2 posts up by Anthony Mason, Oakley was on him, and Mason roughed him up and took him right to the rim.
Oakley picked up. You got to respect his outside shot by Chucky Brown. And there is Vince Carter hitting a 3. So Carter hitting his second 3-point basket.
Well, you remember when he came in the league, Dick, everyone questioned, could he shoot outside, and could he ever make the 3? Well, he's making it at 39%, and he's attempting 3 a game, and tonight he's on fire for the home folks.
He has led the Raptors in scoring in each of the last 27 games. And right now he has started out with 10 points, and committing the foul, Antonio Davis, and will send Anthony Mason to the free throw line. Those are Vince Carter's 3-point percentages in his first 2 years in the league. Mason a lot more confident going to the free throw line now, and not afraid to go to the line, and very dangerous.
Well, early on in his career, he was always in the 60s, Dick. Right now, he has the foul shooting up to over 72%. He's changed his approach on the foul line many, many times. But you can see tonight, he looked comfortable in those 2.
No question about it. He has 10 points, as does Vince Carter. Under 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Eldon Campbell coming out to meet Carter, and Carter hits. He has 12 points in the game. Remember, this is Vince Carter, who has won 7 different games with the last shot. Although the other night it was Charles Oakley who hit the 3 to beat the Cavaliers. 2-point lead for the Hornets, 23-21, and Eddie Jones trying to beat his man off the dribble is fouled. D. Brown checking into the game for the Toronto Raptors. And a timeout called with 2:39 remaining in the first.
Now keep an eye on Vince Carter. See, he's working hard. Charlotte switching. He knows he has a mismatch right here. You could see Eldon Campbell gave him the space, which opened up the jump shot.
The Pacers have the best record in the East in the last 10 games, 5-5. So all you can do in the last 10 is 500, and that leads the parade. That doesn't say much.
Well, we know that at playoff time, it really is a crapshoot, and especially now that New York is healthy. You're looking and hoping for a healthy Miami when we get down to the nitty-gritty, and it's going to be wide open. Dangerous team. Watch those 60s, 76ers.
Everyone's talking about Philadelphia, a team no one really wants to play. And an offensive foul called as Oakley is run into, and that'll be the second personal foul on Eldon Campbell. Coming up next on TNT, the second half of our doubleheader. The 76ers, we're just talking about them. They go against the Lakers. You know, these Raptors beat the Lakers in Los Angeles. to distinguish themselves this season. Then Tuesday on TNT, the Pistons play at Toronto against the Raptors, followed by the Lakers at the Suns. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern time. D. Brown in there along with Christie, Oakley, Vince Carter, and Antonio Davis.
Two-man game.
Here is the Carter, defended by Mason. Brown coming over to double team, and there's Christie for three, and Brown getting the rebound. Todd Fuller has come into the ball game. He was a hero in the Atlanta contest when Eldon Campbell had to beg off with stomach pains. Fuller had a big game. Eddie Jones with a fall away, and you can see why Eddie Jones, though he has 7 points, and he is the leading scorer for this team and a starter for the East in the All-Star game, as UB pointed out. Under 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Carter has 12 points.
Pretty.
And now this puts the shot up and the rebound by Brown.
Yeah, he was looking for the call that time. Mason definitely caught him with his chest.
And another offensive foul.
Yeah, see, Oakley's really hot. Oakley's hot because he got nailed right on the jaw. Now just keep an eye on this replay. Just watch what happens when the ball comes inside. You should see on the backlash, he catches him right on the jaw. Now that's the second time that Mason has popped Oakley.
And that's why he knocked the ball out of his hands, and Mason had to understand that reaction by Charles Oakley. Under a minute and a half remaining in the first. Down low, Davis misses his first, gets the rebound and puts it through. So Antonio Davis now with 6 points. He's the leading rebounder for the Raptors.
Well, if they'll just stay with some of that baseline screening for Antonio Davis, it will open up a low post game for them.
Fuller trying to set a screen. Nothing there on the pick and roll. Fuller down low gives it back to Eddie Jones, and a Toronto foul with 58 seconds remaining in the first quarter. The personal foul is on Christie, Doug's second. Tracy McGrady checking back in, replacing Christie. So Brown and McGrady are the two guards now. 2-point lead for the Hornets, 25-23. McGrady doing a good job staying with Jones.
They shoot it.
Mason with 1 on the clock, and Oakley getting the rebound and knocked away. No foul call. Jones just knocked it away from Charles Oakley. And a new clock for the Hornets.
When you lead the league in steals, you do get away with grabbing the wrist.
Here is Mason with the hook shot. Anthony Mason with 12 first quarter points, matching him with Vince Carter, and the Hornets lead by 4. Under a half a minute to go, and 18 now remaining on the shot clock for the Raptors. Toronto coming in at 17 and 18 on the road. Really no worse than anyone else in the Eastern Conference. D. Brown, 3-point threat. Wesley won't give it to him. Davis given the shot by Fuller and misses. And the final seconds here of the first quarter, Wesley checks the clock at midcourt, fires it up, and it bounces off the rim. That was close. And that will do it for the first quarter. Anthony Mason on 5 for 7 shooting and 12 points in the game. Vince Carter had 12, and after one, the Hornets lead the Raptors by a score of 27-23. Hornets lead by 4. I want to take this time right now, Hubie, to congratulate you on being nominated in the analyst category for an Emmy. Well deserved. We've known that for many, many years, and I think it's a great reflection on the contribution that you have made and the kind of work you have done over the years.
Well, I really appreciate that, Dick. But as we all know, in this business, the announcer and the analyst work hand in hand, and we're only as good as the producer and the director. And I learned that in my very first telecast. So I'd like to thank the guys in the truck as long as Dick Stockton.
Thank you very much. And of course, everyone I talk with, at least the 4 people I talk to, so really richly.
Now, in the early going, Vince Carter gets off 10 shots here in that first quarter. He's one of a handful of guys in this league who get 20 shots up a night.
Tracy McGrady with a spectacular play. Muggsy Bogues has come in the game, as Reggie pointed out, along with Del Curry, one of the Hornets from the early days. He has come in. So D. Brown and Muggsy Bogues defensively. Anthony Mason. Baron Davis, the rookie from UCLA, is in there for Charlotte. And Eddie Jones changes hands, goes up for the lay-in, and is fouled. Eddie Jones, talking to Paul Silas earlier before the game, says the key now for him is to keep his strength up.
He's down to 180 pounds, and Paul Silas said it was just interesting because he's working so hard at both ends of the floor. So what they have to do is keep a very close check on his stamina. He's also having major problems sleeping. So they are using some types of medication to try to help him along that line, because this is a guy who plays with a great deal of energy. You cannot average 20 points in this league and then come in as a 2 guard with 5 rebounds a game, lead the league in steals by sitting in a rocking chair.
That's right. Jones missing his first free throw. Anthony Mason gets a hand as he leaves with 12 points.
Yeah, Mason had a very nice quarter. Not only did he score the points, but he distributed the basketball, and he's doing a good job defensively. You know, I know Carter has the 12 points, but he's banging him around.
Tracy McGrady is the only starter still in there for Toronto. Kevin Willis has come in, and they need his low post offense, which he showed there. So it's McGrady along with D. Brown, Willis. Del Curry has come into the game as well. And a foul charge to Muggsy Bogues, his first. Baron Davis, the 3rd overall pick from UCLA, is in the backcourt with David Wesley. There is Davis, who's learning the game in his first year. Fuller remains at center. And Eddie Robinson, who has really come up big, in there with Jones. In and out for Fuller. Rebound McGrady.
Now, you love it when Muggsy Bogues is in there. You know, the guy is only 5'3". He's had an incredible career. Now, the guy with talent is that man who just made that shot. 6'8", can play inside, outside, play 3 positions, do it well, and shoots a high percentage.
6 double-doubles in his last 17 games for Tracy McGrady. Wesley from the perimeter and gets the ball back as the Raptors careless with the ball in their backcourt. 29-28, the Raptors leading by 1, and Fuller gets in and misses the layup. Fuller misses the easy layup, and here's Muggsy Bogues turning it on, and the ball kicked away by Robinson. So the Raptors still maintain possession.
What you just saw there is one of the very few times that you'll see Muggsy Bogues take a risky pass attempt. He leads the league at 4.7 assists for every turnover, and that one, he needed a gun and a bullet to get it through there, Dick. All right?
He perennially has been the leader in that department. And D. Brown hitting. D. Brown with the basket, and he'll be important according to Butch Carter come playoff time. He is focused, back in shape after being out with a couple of injuries. So the Raptors on an 8-1 run. Fuller does not miss this time. Good fake and a basket. And an interesting game as the Raptors leading the Hornets by 1 with 2.5 gone by in the second.
Now, Fuller can make a name for himself here. He did an excellent job at North Carolina State. 3 years of up and down play with Golden State. Now he has found the home.
D. Brown hitting his second 3. So D. Brown, who is 3rd in 3-point percentage at nearly 38%, giving Toronto the 4-point lead.
That's the first time we're seeing a half-court trap. Now, one trap, they'll match up.
Eddie Jones for 3. Long rebound comes down to McGrady. Tracy McGrady, who came out of high school right to the NBA. Robinson going for the steal. Del Curry, who's really the specialist in 3-point shots, misses that time. And once again, Charlotte coming back. And 3-point attempt missing by Baron Davis, and pushing it up now is Bogues. 4-on-2, and Muggsy Bogues with a runner in the lane.
He's having an excellent year. They're very happy with his shooting. They're very happy with him on the foul line, shooting 92%. We know that he makes the play. He comes in at the beginning of the second quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter. They love his energy because it picks up the tempo of the game.
And the Raptors have opened up their biggest lead of the game, 6 points.
That was nice, really, paying off those guys in the truck, because you don't have nothing to do with your And what you should have said, he should have said, if I had 6 more telestrators a game, I might win the damn thing.
Brother. Hey, Marty, do they have scores from other games? How's New Jersey doing with Orlando?
Oh, I can't sure. What's the score?
2-point game.
Oh. Do they have a shot?
Yeah, they have to beat them tonight. They have them tonight, and then they have them again in another week. Now they're 3-0 with Orlando.
Right. Wow.
If they can get those 2, close it to 2. Yes.
When now? Well, there's a promo. Stay tuned inside the NBA following Lakers Sixers. We don't have to give it. 36-30, Toronto leading.
Now Tracy McGrady has it all. He can take it to the rim, finish. He's an excellent foul shooter. We know that he has the mid-range game. He's not a three-point shooter. His game basically is 18 feet and down. But because of his size and playing in the backcourt at either point guard or 2, he shoots up over the top of you. Second leading scorer for Toronto, shoots a solid 45 from the field.
And the Raptors are very hopeful that they can keep him and build something along with Vince Carter. Here is McGrady defending against Mason in the low post, double team. Baron Davis hitting the shot. Baron Davis, the rookie from UCLA, 6th in assists among rookies and still learning. Curry beating Willis. Filling the lane, Kevin Willis.
Well, once again, we had a team beat the other team down the floor, and then what happens is when the ball goes to the wing, they're trying to trap. Well, you can't trap unless you have protection. Now, this is the second time tonight we're seeing the 1-2-2 zone trapped by Toronto.
Wesley hitting from the perimeter. David Wesley, who's getting the swagger back, as you indicated, after being a kind of pensive. Of course, this franchise still trying to rebound from the tragic and traumatic death of Bobby Phills back in January. And Charlotte was in 4th, fell to 6th, and now making a run. McGrady misses off the glass. A 4-point lead for Toronto.
Very few second shot attempts at either end of the floor. And that's interesting because we have 2 excellent offensive rebounding teams here tonight.
Foul is on Muggsy Bogues. It'll be his 2nd personal foul. Eldon Campbell, who picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter, back in at center for the Hornets. So it's Baron Davis along with Wesley, who bobbled the ball and goes to the corner and hits the shot. Pat Cooley, David Wesley hot from the field.
Well, what they did was they set a screen for Wesley. He faked coming off the screen, backdoored Curry, but fumbled the pass. But fortunately corrected it by hitting that mid-range jump shot.
Raptor lead is 2. Curry, a 2-point attempt. Del Curry, who spent 10 of his 14 years here in Charlotte. He missed 14 games with that plantar fasciitis, that tough heel injury that just nags you. And a timeout called. Tracy McGrady with 9 points, second to Vince Carter's 12. Carter getting a rest right now on the Toronto bench. Timeout, 6:49 remaining in the first half. The Raptors lead the Hornets by 4.
Campbell, whose man is Kevin Willis. He runs all the way out to pick up Del Curry, but unfortunately for him, Willis goes right to the front of the rim and no one picks him up. But that is the fear that a Del Curry puts into you because he is one of the greatest three-point shooters in the history of the league. He has made over 1,100 and he has shot at 40%.
6:45 remaining in the first half. Wesley guarded by Del Curry. Tries to go baseline, feeding Baron Davis with a great move against McGrady, the taller McGrady. And now it is a 2-point Toronto lead.
At the top of the show, we told you that Charlotte, you know, is a very good team about passing the basketball, along with Toronto. Both are right up there in the assist category.
Eddie Robinson trying to stay with Del Curry. You got to respect the three-point shooting of Curry and D. Brown when he's in there. McGrady hitting the shot, and a very tough to get a piece of that with the long arms and the high arc.
Oh, I like your stretch right here. I mean, you're into this one.
I mean, I'm an actor.
Yeah, but we can see at 6'8", he just shoots up over the top of the small guard.
Mason going up. And here's McGrady coming down. 4-point lead for the Raptors. Very important game for Toronto. And now the offensive foul called against Tracy McGrady. That'll be his first.
Now, I'm coaching this team. I say something to him right now. Because Muggsy Bogues was wide open in that left corner. And McGrady just shook him off and tried to beat Wesley. An excellent anticipation by Wesley.
Vince Carter has come back into the game, replacing Muggsy Bogues. Carter sat out 6 minutes. But the Raptors have a 4-point lead, so they did very well without their star, who has 12 points. In fact, they gained 8 points on the Hornets. Mason hitting the jumper. 14 now for Mason, who leads all scorers.
Okay, time and time again, Toronto will trap. They trapped the screen and roll that time. The man rolled was wide open.
And a big lineup for Toronto. They have both Kevin Willis and Antonio Davis in the game, with Carter, McGrady, and Del Curry. And there is Carter spinning his way in and fouled. Baron Davis got a hand on him, and the Vince Carter will go to the free throw line.
Well, Vince Carter is we all know that he can jump up over the top of the majority of guys who play him. Well, right there, Baron Davis, a point guard, picked him up, and as he made his move. And it's interesting because you would think that Carter would get to the foul line more often. He only attempts 7 foul shots a game.
That's surprising. He went to the line 15 times in a losing cause against New Jersey last night. Carter, of course, a member of the U.S. Olympic team. Tom Gugliotta's injury necessitated the fact that Carter, who was miffed at first that he wasn't on the team, was going to complete his college education in North Carolina, but now says he's very pleased to be on the team under any circumstances. And he'll represent the country well in Sydney.
Well, he still could take those courses because the summer school ends August 4th or 5th, and they do not report to training camp until the middle of the 20s in August.
Jones leaps up to keep it alive for the Hornets, blocked by Antonio Davis. Here comes Vince Carter, 3-on-2, and an alley-oop play, ill-advised as it's picked off by Baron Davis, and coming in the other side. So you turn it over at one end, and Eddie Jones beats you at the other.
Well, when you see a pass like that that's forced and ends up in the NBA, when you have an opportunity for a layup and you do not complete it, it's interesting how fast they score at the other end.
And Kevin Willis, how often have we seen that jump hook off the glass as he delivered there? Kevin Willis, who has been around a long time, 15th year in the NBA, 3-point lead for Toronto. Double teamed on Mason. Jones for 3. He's got it. Eddie Jones now with his second 3-point basket, giving him 13.
Now, he told you now, this is an area that Eddie's really improved his game, and that is in the 3-point shooting. He shoots a very dangerous 38%, but he's looking for the shot now at this time in his career.
Game is tied, and there you see 5 for 10 for both teams from 3-point territory. And there is Davis with the left-handed hook. Eldon Campbell with a rebound. Baron Davis pushing it up against Del Curry. Here's Jones. He's going to try another 3 and hit another 3. Eddie Jones now with his third 3-point basket, his second in a row from beyond the arc, and the Hornets, who are down by 6 at one time, leading again by 2.
In this game, Dick, on the fast break transition opportunities, we have 2 teams that run for the 3-point shot. So not only do you have to defend the guy going for the layup, but you must defend this situation right here by running to the wing to cover the 3-point special.
Again, lead by 3. Sunday on TNT, a television network premiere.
Kevin wants to be a great lawyer. His boss wants his soul. He moves Al Pacino, The Devil's Advocate, Sunday night at 8 on TNT.
There's Derek Coleman, as we mentioned, not playing with an inflamed left knee, having a big year, the leading rebounder, second leading scorer, and shot blocker for Charlotte.
Well, he's having a terrific year. In the last 33 games, he's giving them 20 points as well as 9+ rebounds and shooting a very high percentage.
Christie back in the game, tries to loop it in, very nearly turned it over that time, but the Raptors were alert to keep it 2 on the shot clock, and McGrady, and the foul made with 1 second on the shot clock. Before the shot, it was Baron Davis who fouled McGrady, and you didn't know whether McGrady was going to get it off before the clock expired.
Well, right now, the clock reverts to 14 seconds.
That's the new rule this year. Same as a kickball. Here is the Carter. Leaves it out to McGrady for 3. Knocked out of bounds, and it's going to be Charlotte's ball.
Now, Dick, in a situation like that, you throw the ball into Vince Carter. He's got a mismatch in size. He throws it out to you. Throw the ball back in. You still had anywhere between 12 to 14 seconds. And then if he gets double teamed, he'll kick out. You'll get a better look at the basket.
Baron Davis seeing a lot of time off the bench here in the first half. Christie guarding Wesley. Here is Anthony Mason, who has 14 points. And Mason, Mason works his way in with that wide body, and he has 6 assists to go along with his 16 points.
See, by playing small, what they're saying is they're not happy with Chucky Brown tonight. They're not happy with Fuller. So they're playing Eddie Jones as a small forward.
Willis with the reverse lay-in, and Kevin Willis giving the Raptors some inside offense for a big man off the bench, has 8 points.
Yeah, he's looking good tonight. He's hit the 2 jump hooks and also 2 reverse layups.
Eldon Campbell down low. Block.
Nice block.
And it was Antonio Davis on the block, and the Raptors, who trailed by 3, and driving in was Kevin Willis, and he had to be fouled that time by the smaller Baron Davis, and that'll be 3 on Davis. Right now, let's check in with Reggie Theus.
Hey, Dick, in the game, you might see Anthony Mason playing what we call a point forward. Now, he's not the first one to ever do this. Scottie Pippen and Larry Bird also played point forward, but the team was slumping, and Coach Paul Size went to this to solve a log jam in the low post area. Now, Mason, Coleman, and Campbell all have room to do what they do best. Obviously, in the last 4 games, Mason at the point forward position, averaging 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. He's got 6 tonight, and that 8 assists per game in the last 4 games would put him 9th in the NBA at the point guard position, guys.
Remember Paul Pressey?
I was just going to bring that up. You beat me to it, you old devil. Now, with Don Nelson with the Milwaukee Bucks, had Paul Pressey a small forward. Do it. They made a big deal about it. And then guys like Havlicek would say, hey, wait a second. I was doing that 20 years ago. All right. But we all know that there have been other forwards who moved to the backcourt all throughout basketball because of their great dribbling ability and their unselfishness in giving up the ball. But the first time that they called it a point forward was Don Nelson with Paul Pressey. And I give you plenty of, you're looking good after this game, I'll tell you right now.
Well, I got to come up to a level of an Emmy nominee. All right. Meanwhile, Charles Oakley and Muggsy Bogues have come back into the game for the Raptors. Wesley firing over Bogues' hit. Wesley has 10 points already, so he is playing with a lot of fire tonight.
They're catching the trap. They're making a trap, swinging the ball to the other side. It's opening up jump shots.
Oakley hitting a 3, and remember, it was Oakley who hit the 3 from the corner when the Raptors came back from 17 points to beat Cleveland the other night. Both teams are shooting well over 50% or just over 50%.
Yeah, they catch Christie here, roughing up the cutter going through the lane.
3rd foul on Doug Christie. Want to remind you, coming up on the AT&T halftime report, Ernie Johnson along with Kenny Smith. I wonder who Kenny Smith will be rooting for tomorrow in the NCAA semifinals. Let's think about this. Scores and highlights, including the games between the Timberwolves and the Pacers and the New Jersey Nets playing in Orlando in a big one. And we'll have a preview of the second half of our big TNT doubleheader as the Philadelphia 76ers, a threat down the stretch in the East. At least Allen Iverson go against the Lakers with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. 18 for Jones. 2-point lead.
Paul Silas just brought in Fuller to replace Elton Campbell so that he does not pick up a cheap foul here.
D. Brown missing the layup, but Willis is there. A big game for Kevin Willis off the bench. And we're tied at 54. Willis is 5 for 5, and most of them, of course, from the inside as of late. And here is Baron Davis missing the shot, but a personal foul called with 34 plus remaining in the half. Foul is on Kevin Willis. It'll be his first foul. Willis with 12 points is second to Vince Carter's 13. Carter with only 1 point here in the second quarter, and Tracy McGrady, the other Raptor, in double figures with 11. Here is Todd Fuller on the free throw line. It was the Atlanta game when Campbell couldn't go, and he scored 11 points on 5 for 9 shooting, 15 rebounds, including 6 off the offensive glass in a big 35-minute performance against the Hawks 2 games ago.
Well, I like what Paul Silas had to say. In the early going, he was not getting much time, but he worked very hard and stayed with it. When his opportunity opened up, he came in, gave us a tremendous lift when Campbell was out, and played very consistent. They have a lot of confidence in him now, and with Miller out with knee surgery, he will now be in the rotation.
Here is Charles Oakley hitting the three. Hitting the three. And the Raptors regain the lead by 1. This is a critical game. The Charlotte Hornets looking for the season series in case that's the tiebreaker against Toronto.
That was Oakley's 14th make this year in three-point shot attempts.
That's his career high for a season, Hubie.
Yep, 14 for 31. Now that's
pretty
shooting
good
at some percentage.
He tied his career high with 12 three-pointers in a season in the last game, and already has 2 spectacular bombs. And I would say to silence the crowd, but Hubie, they have been silenced from the start tonight.
Absolutely. I'm right on to that with you, Dick. I just don't understand it. The building is like a morgue. And you can see that they are catching. They continue to catch the defense down below the foul line. They rotate the ball out, and Toronto is happy tonight attempting the three.
I haven't been in a morgue lately, but I'll probably guess what that's like. Toronto, by the way, 5 for 8 from three-point territory with 4.3 seconds remaining. But this is a capacity crowd, and you never know it by the lack of response here.
That's right. You know, this is an interesting team, the Charlotte Ball Club. They have an excellent record at home. They're 25-10. But on the road, with all of this talent that they have, they're only 14-21. Now, you have to look at that and say, gee, well, what's the problem? Well, how about with teams over 500? They have a losing record there also. They are 18-24. But you turn around and you look at their overall record, they're 8 games over 500. You say, well, what happened? They killed the sub-500 teams.
Except in the playoffs, as Eddie Robinson comes in, you don't have the sub-500 teams.
And that's why we brought up the point at the top of the show. Toronto has 14 losses versus the sub-500 teams, and here Charlotte only 7, and here they are fighting for that spot.
And you know, you talk about the Hornets in their home court. They have dropped 7 of their last 12 here at the Hive, so they have a
great
slump
steal.
here. Great steal. Jones, and it'll count if it goes, and it doesn't, and that's the end of the first half. Eddie Jones, however, with 18 points, 11 here in the second quarter, including 3 threes. And the Toronto Raptors paced by Carter with 13, but he didn't do much in the second quarter. And that'll do at the end of the first half. An exciting high-scoring affair with the game all even. The Raptors and the Hornets tied at 57. Right now, let's send it out to the court and Reggie Theus.
All right, thanks a lot, Dick. It's a great half of basketball for both teams. But you, 18 points, you're having the best year of your career. What has been the difference for you this year?
Just having some freedom. I think just freedom is the world to me. You know, if I can get out there and just scrap, do all the things, run up and down the court, I'm a good player.
I heard that when you were having a little bit of a hard time this year, you said you had to get back to be more aggressive. Is that what you're doing right now?
Exactly. I think when I'm aggressive, we play well, and I'm Eddie Jones at that time.
Well, when the team goes, that's the way you go. All right, now, let's go back to Dick.
All right, thank you, Reggie. Eddie Jones with a smile on his face, well-deserved, and a great first half. And talk about players you want to keep. The Hornets keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that they can keep Eddie Jones beyond this year. So at halftime, we're all tied at 57. When we come back, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith in our Atlanta studios.
Two good passers like Coleman and Mason in your front court people, that adds to the distribution of the ball.
Carter with a forced shot over Anthony Mason, fired up the air ball, and the Hornets looking good to start this third quarter, leading by 4, and Wesley firing a long 3 off the glass, but the offensive rebound by Chucky Brown. And now Eddie Jones says he doesn't want it on the post-up.
That was the second offensive rebound in this game for Charlotte.
Here is the pick and roll to Anthony Mason. McGrady clearing the rebound. 4-point lead for the Hornets. And the pass to Carter from McGrady. A one-handed put through by Vince Carter. And the first time we have heard more than a murmur from this crowd tonight. Kind of reacted to it. And here is Eldon Campbell. And here comes Carter coming up. 61-59. The Hornets lead by 2. And a bad pass by Oakley, and Davis unable to go after it, and Davis says, my fault for not hustling after the ball.
Now this is the look to the right of your screen, because you're going to see the lob from McGrady right there. This is just a great catch and a sensational follow through.
Maybe next year in the slam dunk contest you can use a teammate.
There you go.
That'll get some points for you. Mason, or that is Brown, losing the ball on the pass to the post.
We've just seen two guys posting up, calling for the ball. The ball has been thrown to them. Both guys tried to make a catch with one hand. You try to tell people, will you please throw the ball to me? I can catch the ball with both hands.
Carter's ball will drop. The ball bounced on the rim and came through. So Carter, who had only 1 point in the second quarter, has 4 of his 17 already here in the third. Tied at 61, and a full timeout is called by the Hornets.
Yeah, Paul Silas does not like the defense that he's getting from his club. The fact that people are running anywhere that they want, and there is no challenge of the shot.
April 9th on TNT, a world premiere TNT original.
A madman, a visionary, and a knight sworn to defeat impossible foes. Test your courage with Don Quixote, Sunday, April 9th at 8 on TNT.
Along with Hubie Brown and Reggie Theus, Dick Stockton here at the Charlotte Coliseum. Tied at 61, and here is Eldon Campbell with the up fake and the miss from the baseline. The Raptors led by Vince Carter with 17 points. Kevin Willis off the bench with 12, and Tracy McGrady with 11. McGrady guarded by Eddie Jones. 10 on the clock. Good pass, low post, and Antonio Davis's pass off the hands of Doug Christie.
Yeah, and Antonio Davis was double teamed quickly. He made the pass. It was a hard pass. Christie was not looking for the ball, and it ends up in a turnover.
Anthony Mason handling the ball with Eddie Jones, David Wesley, Eldon Campbell, and Chucky Brown. 7:40 to go, third quarter. Carter is guarding Brown. Campbell on Oakley, and they fronted Eldon Campbell fighting for the loose ball, and it comes down to Carter. Vince Carter picked up by Wesley with a runner in the lane. Brown the rebound. Christie preventing Wesley from getting the break. And out of bounds, last touch by the Raptors.
We've played almost 5 minutes in this quarter, and everyone, to me, is playing like they're in molasses. Everything is slow motion. They're a half a step behind. They're getting things, except it's taking so long in the shot clock to finally end up with the shot attempt.
Laboring.
Yes.
Mason double team. Campbell down low. Chucky Brown, and it drops. Chucky Brown getting the basket. Good passing. The Hornets with good ball movement here in the third.
Well, the main thing for Chucky Brown is just stay active. Keep moving without the ball, because they must pay attention to Mason. They must pay attention to Eldon Campbell down inside. And then everyone's concerned about Eddie Jones off the dribble. So if you just make yourself available.
Tracy McGrady
Oh, boy.
missed the layup on a good feed from Christie on a back door. So the Hornets come back, leading by 2. A three-point basket attempt missed by Wesley and rimmed the hoop.
There's no urgency here. Everything is just, you know, I'm going to come down. I'm going to slowly get to a spot, and I'm going to take a shot. The defender is allowing the man to get to the spot and then not even contesting the open jump shot.
And a foul called against Eldon Campbell. That'll be his 3rd personal foul. He picked up 2 early in the game. Todd Fuller came in. So 3 on Eldon Campbell.
Maybe
13 on the clock. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Dick. That's my fault. Maybe I'm looking for more energy for this type of a game for 2 teams that are fighting for 4th and 5th spot.
McGrady missing. Crashing the boards, and Chucky Brown comes out. I would agree with you, considering from Toronto's standpoint how Charlotte has handled them so decisively in the last 2 games. And for Charlotte, trying to keep their, you know, rally going. They've won 4 in a row. Here's Anthony Mason. Chucky Brown tips it in. Brown having a big 3rd quarter with his 3rd basket.
Yeah, I'm happy for Chucky because, you know, he was very disappointed after those 30 games that he played for San Antonio, started 27. Now he landed here with a club that he made a major contribution with a year ago. You just want to see him fit in and get back into the rhythm of the ball club.
Yeah, he was the starter with Sean Elliott out with the kidney problem on opening day. 27 games started. It was waived by the Spurs on February 4th. This is his 2nd tour of duty with the Hornets. And you talk about a well-traveled guy. In 11 years, he's been with 10 teams.
He's been in 5 playoffs. He has a ring with Houston. Nice move.
I would think after the 10 teams, you get a ring amongst the 10.
There's a lot of guys who play and have no ring. Right? Let's not minimize that ring routine. Okay. And fortunately, you can see the advantage. They finally got the ball to Christie where he posted up on Wesley, and he was able to score.
2-point lead for the Hornets. Wesley driving, and the foul before the shot. And Doug Christie with the personal. And that'll be 4 on Christie. So Christie last night 0 for 5 from the field, did not score against the Nets. And tonight he has only 2 points, picked up his 4th foul. So once again, Christie not getting much tonight, and Muggsy Bogues will replace him.
Muggsy Bogues in 8 minutes in the 1st half, 6 assists, no turnovers.
Well, what's new?
Here you go.
Here is Wesley off the screen. David Wesley using a screen, having a fine game with 12 points.
Yeah, see, Oakley and Muggsy Bogues are talking there. Oakley did not step out to help as the man came over the top of the screen.
Hornets again leading by 4. Remember, we were tied at half at 57. Vince Carter now turned it over. Palming violation called against Carter.
Well, we saw more palming of the ball calls in November and December than we're seeing now. And it's interesting because they hit Vince Carter with the palm. They're not going to allow you to cradle it and get that step advantage.
Under 4.5 to play. The pick and spot up to Anthony Mason. Eldon Campbell with the offensive rebound, and a foul is called. A lot of energy tonight from Eldon Campbell, who has gone hot and cold in that department throughout his career.
Yeah, he's struggling from the shooting tonight, Dick. He's only 2 for 6 from the floor, but he's got to get it going. And, you know, anytime Charlotte passes the ball to the wing and sends a guy through, the guy's wide open because Toronto continues to trap the man on the wing.
McGrady committing that last foul. And McGrady getting a hand on the pass, getting it back. Here is McGrady trying to go to Carter. And it was last touched by the Hornets as the Raptors got a little fancy with their 2 young superstars on the break.
Yeah, that's a bad pass by McGrady. But excellent transition defense by Charlotte, because they could have just conceded that layup, and instead they cut McGrady off and forced him to make a decision.
And a good defensive play by McGrady, and Carter with a turnaround off the glass, trying to keep it alive with McGrady. And here's Wesley going by Bogues, and they're going to call the foul on Muggsy Bogues.
Wesley is deceiving because when he wants to put on the afterburners, he can really step out and push the ball and force, but the majority of times he lopes on the break. And you'd like to see them right now. If they're going to get this win at home, they need some easy points on offensive rebounding and then out in the open floor.
The lead is 4 for the Hornets. 10 on the shot clock. Oakley defending against Campbell, and the feed coming in low to Mason, and a foul against the Raptors, and it's going to be on Antonio Davis. Davis, the former Indiana Pacer, with his second.
See, once again, they dump it down right in front of the rim, and that was an excellent call. Antonio Davis manhandling the post-up player in the paint.
Raptors in the penalty, and Mason hitting the first free throw. So Mason now looking for his 18th point of the game. And he's got it. So Mason and Eddie Jones each with 18. Jones has not scored in this third quarter, and a 6-point lead by the Charlotte Hornets, and that is their biggest lead of this game. Each team has had a 6-point advantage. McGrady double team. Bogues is open for the moment, and it's tipped up and in by Davis.
It's a nice rebound by Antonio Davis. He was anticipating the miss. He just flew right through and split two defenders.
Career power forward playing the center position, wanted to start. Thus, he chose to go with Toronto, and the ball knocked away by Davis, and 10 seconds on the shot clock for Charlotte, and Kevin Willis is going to come into the game. Willis with a big first half for Toronto with 12 points on 5 for 5 shooting.
Oakley's upset, and he's taking too long of a period of time to get off the court. And right now the referees are holding up the game. They should give him a delay of game because he's very upset that they brought in Kevin Willis.
Mason fouled. Anthony Mason going to the bucket is fouled and will shoot. The Charlotte Hornet team has won 4 in a row. And when they have outshot and out-rebounded their opponents, they are 14-0. And right now, they are out shooting the Toronto Raptors.
Here with Wesley. Muggsy Bogues is here. Now here comes the screen on a screen and roll. You can see Oakley is hugging the screener. Well, once Wesley comes over the top, Muggsy Bogues cannot get through. Oakley screens Muggsy Bogues. Now when he's in the game, you can't do that. You've got to open up or let him come over the top. One of the two. But you cannot continue to hug the screener.
There's Muggsy Bogues, and his backcourt partner now will be D. Brown, who has come into the game. D. Brown, former Celtic, had 5 points on 2 for 3 shooting, including hitting a 3-point basket in the first half. Mason hits the first free throw.
Now, D. Brown has missed 43 games this year because of knee problem, knee surgery, and also when he came back, he was 10 pounds overweight. So Butch Carter feels that he's definitely lost the weight, he's in tune, and you know when he's healthy, he attempts 4 threes a game. Gives them another guy to extend the defense.
Under 3 minutes to go in the third. It's 71-65. The Charlotte Hornets trying to extend their winning streak to 5 games in front. Carter going down low to Kevin Willis, or to Antonio Davis. Willis is at the top. Here is Davis again with the turnaround, and he's got it.
Nice.
Antonio Davis now with 10 points.
That's what you like to see. When you want to go to a guy and you feel he can score, when he doesn't have it, he kicks it out, throw the ball right back in again and let him repost, and that's what we just saw.
Bogues stays with Wesley, and Mason working against Kevin Willis, and that time Willis too much size for Mason, and Bogues has it. It's a 4-point Charlotte lead, and Toronto trying to narrow the gap as we wind down to the 2-minute mark here in the third quarter.
Same thing. They're bringing Davis across.
And the double team, Bogues feeding D. Brown. D. Brown hits a 3. Despite the good rotation by the Hornets, Eddie Jones was right with him.
Well, he's 2 for 2 tonight. See, D. Brown shoots it at 38%. He'll just hang out on the perimeter. You must stay with him.
Eddie Jones driving to the basket is fouled. Eddie Jones, who had 18 points in the first half but has yet to score here in the third quarter, will go to the free throw line with 1:42 to go as Todd Fuller comes back in for Charlotte.
See, Dick, you made a great point about Eddie Jones. He's not even involved in the offense. The reason being, everything is on the left side of the floor. It's all screen and roll, basically to get Mason the ball down in that left corner. Well, what you've done is you've gone away from the hottest guy in the building, and he cannot even get in the flow. Now you say, well, maybe he'll get out on the fast break. Well, there aren't any fast breaks in this game here tonight.
Thus, no Eddie Jones
Yeah,
in the third quarter. Want to remind you, coming up next, the second half of our TNT doubleheader, the 76ers against the LA Lakers, who have a 7-game winning streak. And there is Vince Carter with the stuff off of the baseline feed, now 7 of 17 from the field.
Now that's the first time that he's taken Mason off the dribble and gone all the way for the dunk.
Wesley, who's been hot from the field, and Bogues getting the rebound, and players hitting the floor, and a loose ball. And a timeout called, and holding on to his knee is Chucky Brown.
Now keep an eye on this move. Now you're going to see Carter go to the left. You see, he goes to the left, and with that big stride, he just blows right by Anthony. Now Mason has done a superb job on Carter all night off the dribble.
Now Carter, as we said, 7 of 17, and there have been reports or rumors that Carter might have a broken bone in his wrist. And we asked Butch Carter, the head coach. He says, I've heard that too. Number one, no medical evidence that that's the case. And general manager Glenn Grunwald said we wouldn't allow him to play with a broken bone. And of course, Vince Carter denied that he had it, but it's a story that has been going around.
Now it's in the top of the left hand, the guide hand. Now you have to remember, in the last 6 games coming into tonight, Vince Carter is only shooting 34% during this period of time.
1 minute remaining in the third quarter. The Hornets leading by 1. It's been a close game throughout, as Carter hitting a 3. Carter now with his third three-pointer of the game has 22 points.
Dick, that is so hard to do. He caught that ball, made the catch, and just elevated.
Raptors leading by 2, and it's tied up again. Todd Fuller hitting the jumper, and we're tied at 75. We were all even at halftime at 57, so this game remains that tight as we get close to a half a minute remaining here in the third. Del Curry left open for 3 and off the mark. And now the Hornets with a differential on the shot clock of about 7 seconds.
Wesley's in the backcourt right now, and I just can't tell what happened to him because he doubled over.
Eddie Jones hitting his fourth.
There he is.
From downtown, breaking the tie and giving the Hornets the lead. So Eddie Jones not doing much in the third quarter until the late stages, has 23 points. And now playing for the final shot of the quarter are the Raptors, down by 3. Here is Carter going up, and he's fouled on his drive to the basket.
See, that was an excellent move. Wesley came from the opposite side, doubled him down, and was not going to allow him to dunk the ball. Foul him, forced him to take the ball out on the side. That was an excellent play.
And Vince Carter really upset, thought that he was in the act of shooting.
Yeah, he wanted a continuation, Dick, but it depends. Now, that's a total judgment call.
Final seconds, Steve Brown has it blocked
Nice
by
block.
Chucky Brown as time expires. And the Charlotte Hornets, and once again, as there you see Anthony Mason and Vince Carter jawing at each other, but it was Eddie Jones down the stretch with a big three-pointer. And he's got 23 points, and there you see Mike Callahan discussing things with Vince Carter, who leads the Raptors with 22. And after 3 quarters, a good one here at the Coliseum in Charlotte with the Hornets over the Raptors for 78-75. Our fast break, and the impressive number there. Toronto 7 of 12 from three-point range. Underway in the fourth quarter, and Vince Carter is on the bench as the D. Brown with Del Curry and Muggsy Bogues in there. 3 guards in the game for Toronto with McGrady and Kevin Willis, and it comes out to Del Curry. Charlotte with Baron Davis now in there. Chucky Brown, Todd Fuller, Eddie Jones, and Anthony Mason. Curry driving around the baseline, and a foul on Chucky Brown.
Right now, Toronto trying to get by playing McGrady as the power forward Kevin Willis as your center, and then Curry as a small forward. You have Muggsy Bogues and D. Brown out there, so they've gone very small.
Eddie Robinson, a much heralded rookie from Central Oklahoma, who has a big upside and could be a big-time threat, has come into the game, played in the first half, did not do much, but he's in there now. Number 32, and Muggsy Bogues with the jumper. And the lead now is 1 for Charlotte.
See, Muggsy Bogues, what they're doing, they're allowing him to stay on the opposite side of where the ball is. His man is going all the way and double teaming. Well, Muggsy has burned him twice tonight.
Baron Davis tried to get it to Eddie Jones, who was not aware of the pass and the turnover. Tracy McGrady picked it off, and a foul called against Eddie Jones. So a mix-up in the backcourt for the Hornets, whose lead is 1 right now. Bogues is guarded by Baron Davis. McGrady, who is scoreless this half, defended by Mason, leaves it for D. Brown, and Brown missing the 3. Baron Davis, the UCLA rookie, brings it up.
Now you've got to punish them at this end of the floor. Right now you have Robinson inside. Muggsy Bogues is trying to front him. Oh my.
Pass to Robinson, he couldn't hold on to it, and he turns it over to Toronto.
Dick, when you have a mismatch like that, it's your job to catch the ball with 2 hands and then beat the rotation and dunk the ball. That was a major mismatch. A guy at 6'8" is posting up a player at 5'3".
Muller leaving the game, and David Wesley coming in.
Well, right now Charlotte has regrouped, taken out their big guys, and just leaving Mason in so that they can match up here.
Kevin Willis, who has 5 for 5 shooting, makes it 6 for 6. So Kevin Willis, who had 12 points and 7 rebounds off the bench in the losing contest to the Nets last night, gives the Raptors the lead again by 1.
Well, Kevin, you know, throughout his entire career is a 14-point-a-game guy.
Oh, and the ball deflected off of the face of Del Curry. He's all right.
I know. The ball almost knocked him out.
And Eddie Jones missing from the perimeter. And here's Muggsy Bogues motoring up for the Raptors, who lead by 1. Very big game for both teams. Toronto, of course, has been mired in a slump, having lost 5 of the last 6. McGrady struggling in the second half, misses inside.
Nice defense that time by Raptors. Nice.
And Curry comes over to pick it off. And Bogues. This is like a kiddie car game right now. In the amusement park. Tipped up and in by Willis, and they're going to call offensive interference over the cylinder. So negate that basket by Kevin Willis.
See, this is close. My opinion, without seeing the replay, is that the ball is coming off the rim. And you're going to see it right there. See, that ball has no chance of going in the basket. That should have been good.
Yes. I'll say it again. Yes.
Shaq at only 20, Carter at 20 to 21. So you can see that the guys who are not getting as many attempts as Iverson would score a heck of a lot more points because they shoot such a outstanding percentage, especially Shaq leading the league in field goal percentage.
Lakers have a chance to win 70 games and be only the 2nd team in NBA history. The Bulls were the other, and both coached by Phil Jackson. Nearly 3 minutes gone by here in the 4th quarter, and the Hornets have yet to score here in this quarter, yet it's only a 1-point game.
Well, they're so slow getting to what they're trying to accomplish.
Eldon Campbell back in the game. Eddie Jones 3 on the shot clock, and Campbell has to fire it up. So they did not use that clock and the offensive sequence well, and they remained a goose egg for the quarter. Here is Bogues with Oakley, Curry, Willis, and McGrady. Vince Carter is on the bench, and an offensive foul has been called against Toronto. It's on Kevin Willis.
Yeah, Kevin Willis set a baseline screen for Del Curry. Now, right now, Butch Carter has taken out a small lineup, has gone with a normal group with McGrady as your small forward. And we told you about McGrady. He can play the point, the 2-guard, small forward, and get it done offensively as well as defensively.
More than 3.5 minutes gone by in the fourth quarter. The Hornets still looking for their first points of the period and won't get it here as Campbell is stymied inside. And here comes Toronto. A victory tonight for the Raptors guarantees them a .500 season for the first time in their history. Easily the best year in their 5-year life. Nearly 4 minutes gone by now. It's still a 79-78 Toronto game. Willis misses his first shot from the field.
Yeah, I'd say Oakley is yelling at Willis. You know, look for the cutter. The guy was open on the cut, mainly because you had two defenders chasing Willis on that jump shot.
Baron Davis with a reverse layup that doesn't go, and Robinson can't get it going. And the Charlotte Hornets are totally stymied here in this fourth quarter. 4.5 minutes gone by and nary a point for the Hornets. Here is McGrady going out to Bogues. Bogues nearly traveled. Brown thought he did, and the ball finally kicked away by Muggsy Bogues.
Now there is a rare turnover when you have Muggsy dribbling against a defender where he has the advantage.
Now this is interesting. As Vince Carter coming into the game, and you say, well, when Carter's on the bench, the Raptors must suffer. They have outscored the Hornets by 12 in the time that Carter has been on the bench tonight.
Well, a lot of times the offense stops, and that's been the complaint in the last few weeks by Toronto front court people. They want to see more motion in the offense, and they want to be able to touch the ball.
Eddie Jones on the turnaround. Jones now with 25 points, and that is what he has averaged in the 3 previous games against the Raptors. Hornets regain the lead by 1, 80-79. Carter down low, working his way in, and a fine play. Spin move by Carter.
Not only that, it was a great move, but where was the defender? The defender never rotated to even challenge the shot.
24 points now for Vince Carter, and a timeout called by Paul Silas.
Now just watch the defense here right now. You're going to see, oh, you can't go for the shot block behind him. You know, that you get away with that in the playground. If you're a bigger guy, see, you're going for your move, and his talent allows him, A, to stop, jump over you, or come under you with the scoop shot.
Foul. 6:29 remaining in the fourth quarter. Hornets have only 2 points nearly halfway through this fourth quarter, and they trail by 1. Here is Mason. Basket counts and a foul. Anthony Mason getting inside and having a big game with 22.
I'm surprised that Oakley steps away from him and allows him the continuation, because yeah, he does get the foul. The whistle blows. See right there, and instead of standing into him and not giving him the shot, he stepped away and allowed Mason the uncontested shot.
Mason has 23 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and he is 7 of 7 from the free throw line. So he is picking up where he left off. He has been the hot Hornet as of late.
Well, he's definitely on a roll tonight, Dick. He's 6'8", 260. So when you see him down in there moving around, you know, he's a load.
Hornets by 2, and Oakley gets it to McGrady. And Tracy McGrady with his first points in the second half, now with 13, and we have another tie at 83.
Anytime that you're guarding Christie, McGrady, or Carter from the weak side of the floor, you cannot lose contact with them because of the threat of the lob.
Oakley corrals Eddie Jones's miss. Jones with 25, Mason with 23, Carter with 24. So we have a couple of big scorers tonight. Carter going up, block on the ball, and Willis with a block on the ball as well. And now a foul is called on the shove underneath.
Yeah, Carter's very upset. Carter thought that he got fouled, Dick, and as he was trying to make his move, that's the reason why he dropped the pass off to Kevin Willis.
And Baron Davis committing the foul, and he'll go to the bench. David Wesley has come in for the Hornets with 5.5 remaining in the fourth. Mason defending against Carter. And Carter draws the foul. Chucky Brown coming over to help on the double team. And this will be a 2-shot situation. And the personal is against Brown.
What we had there, Vince Carter is still hot from the play before. So as soon as they ran him to that isolation in the post, he was determined to drive the ball into the middle and get on the foul line.
Vince Carter, who has been the leading scorer for the Raptors in the last 27 games. This is the first free throw attempt in the second half by Toronto. 1 of 2 from the line. And Carter now with 25. It's an 84-83 Toronto lead as we get close to 5 minutes. Chucky Brown starting tonight in place of the injured Derek Coleman hitting the jumper. So Brown now with 8.
The people were on him in the first half when he went 0 for 3. And they took him out of the game quickly. Paul Silas substituted for him. But the second half, he's really made a nice contribution.
Here's Vince Carter, left-handed, using his body, determined, relentless to get to the basket. So Vince Carter now with 27 points. He had not scored that well against the Hornets in the first 3 games of their season series. This is his highest point total, 27.
Nice.
Toronto by 1, and now the Hornets get it back. Great feed into Chucky Brown.
Well, we brought out the point in the third quarter. If Chucky Brown will just continue to move, just keep moving, because your man is double teaming Mason. Mason will find you, and he has, and Chucky Brown has had an excellent second half.
On the turnover, here's Jones against Oakley. Basket counts and a foul. And the Charlotte Hornets turning it on here with 4:14 remaining and taking a 3-point lead and a chance to make it 4.
Now this is just a great play. Starting with the deflection right there. You're seeing the #1 thief in the league get the deflection and then give it up and allow him to cross over. See, anytime that you're out in the open floor and there's a defender running back, always cross over or run a reverse dribble, because you'll get yourself ahead of the man and you'll get the defender on your back.
28 points for Eddie Jones. It is a 90-86 Hornet lead with 4:10 remaining in the fourth quarter. Game was tied at halftime, and the Hornets led by 3 after 3. Here is Carter spinning around Mason. The rebound by Oakley, and Oakley is mugged by Campbell inside. Right now, let's send it over to Reggie Theus.
Hey, Dick, in that last timeout, head coach Paul Silas was talking about the Raptors being tired, and that if the Charlotte was going to win this game, they were going to have to pick the ball up, run the floor, and try to defense them further out on the floor. Since that timeout, Charlotte Hornets have gone on a 6-0 run, and they have picked up the pace.
Well, it's a very good point, Greg. Mainly because Toronto lost last night at New Jersey by 3. Their plane was an hour and a half late picking them up. They did not get to the hotel until 3 o'clock this morning, between 2:30 and 3. So you know that it is a tired club here right now. And it is about time that Charlotte started to come out and pressure these people.
And Hubie, don't forget about the age factor. Charlotte's still a young franchise, but a pretty old team, veteran-wise.
I agree with that, Greg.
And the Hornets have some age off their bench as well. The Raptors do, I should say. It's a 90-87 game. Charlotte leading. Chucky Brown going into Mason. It's knocked away. Not a good pass. And here's Vince Carter ahead to Tracy McGrady, who is fouled by Wesley from behind. It'll be a 2-shot foul. And McGrady will go to the line. McGrady tonight with 13.
Yeah, that was not a deliberate foul.
No.
It was not a hard foul. As a matter of fact, he tried to catch him. You're going to see it right here. It was a strong move because he was able to catch up, and he had an opportunity to get a shot block.
3:43 remaining in the fourth quarter. Butch Carter. And after last night's game in New Jersey, Antonio Davis with some comments about the offense, wondering why the big men were not more of a factor. And then Butch Carter then unhappy with the guard play because of his going with Alvin Williams as the first guard off the bench in the situation substitution. So these are the things you have to smooth out.
Oh, yeah, but Dick, when you lose 14 times to sub-500 teams, these are the things that will always come out when the team gets upset in those games.
And Oakley gets a hand on it, and McGrady and Christie goes behind him and deflected off. Very sloppy by both sides right there.
Bad decision. You had a 2-on-1. All you had to do was make an easy pass.
And Mason going up with a shot. and he's fouled. So the Raptors had a great opportunity to take the lead on the loose ball in midcourt. They didn't, and now Mason with 2 free throws can increase the lead for Charlotte to 3.
In the quick recovery by Charlotte and in their attack, you'd like to see Mason play the board in that situation. That's a very difficult angle to swish the shot.
I'll tell you, his foul shot looks terrific.
He is 8 for 8 from the floor tonight. He looks terrific when you go back over his career.
76ers and Lakers coming up after this one. And the Hornets lead 92-89. Anthony Mason with 25. Jones leads with 28, and the Raptors want to talk it over with 3:08 to go. This is crunch time, and the Toronto Raptors, who trying to make a statement, get into the playoffs for the first time. That may happen, but how high will they be in the Eastern Conference food chain?
Back to the airport this morning, then fly to Orlando. Definitely threw them out of their routine, but still it looked like by that score that it was a very entertaining and close fought ball game.
Neither team has a foul to give. Christie hitting a shot. He has been silent tonight. Only his second basket of the game, but it comes at a very critical time and brings the Raptors to within 1 with 2:40 remaining in the fourth. Toronto trying to get to 500 on the road, and that would be as good as anyone is doing right now in the Eastern Conference. 8 on the shot clock. Perimeter ball movement, and the miss by Chucky Brown. The rebound by Davis. So the Toronto Raptors with a chance to take the lead with 2:20 to go in the fourth.
They're running a stagger screen from right to left for Carter. Now you have a clear out.
Carter working against Mason, spinning one way or the other. The fall away, and not a good percentage shot if you want to call it that.
That's right.
Foul on the other end.
Good call, Dick. Give Mason a lot of credit, because that great move that Carter put on Anthony Mason, Mason at 6'8" and 260, was able to move and force him into that bad angle.
Tracy McGrady going on the line as Chucky Brown picking up the personal foul. McGrady, second leading scorer on the Raptors, averaging just under 15 points a game, has 15 points with 11 rebounds. And he is 11th in the NBA, by the way, in blocked shots. And that is the highest of any non-center or power forward.
Dick, he not only does all of that, he also averages 6 rebounds for a 2-guard. So his stats overall are fantastic.
Mason got the rebound and a triple-double tonight for Anthony Mason. 2 minutes to go. We're tied at 92. We were all even at halftime. Hornets led by 3 after 3.
Oh, you have a mismatch here now.
And backcourt violation, no, a deflection, and they have 3 on the shot clock. Here is Mason trying to pass it in, and it's picked off by Carter. The Raptors can take the lead with 1:40 to go. And a very big possession, as all of them will be the rest of the way. Here is Christie working against Wesley. Good feed inside. No, it's picked off by Eldon Campbell. So Campbell anticipated that pass. Tied at 92 with 1:20 remaining in regulation. Jones with a fall away.
Oh, pretty
big basket, and he's doing it all night tonight. 30 points for Eddie Jones.
What I liked about that is he called for it, and he called for a clear out. He wanted to take him one-on-one, Vince Carter, in that situation. Bringing Carter off of a staggered screen on the baseline.
Minute to go, and here is Carter, kept out by Anthony Mason, pulls up with a jumper, and it hits the top of the backboard. Loose ball. Christie picks it up, and he misses an open shot. The Hornets with a 2-point lead in the ball with 45 seconds to go.
Advantage here.
And 18 on the shot clock. And David Wesley will not shoot it over Davis.
Plenty of time here.
11 on the shot clock. And a timeout called by the Charlotte Hornets, who have the ball and a chance to increase their lead of 2 right now at 94-92.
This is Eddie Jones calling for the clear out. Now watch on this reverse move. See, at 6'6", he was able to make the spin and the fade. That was a difficult angle, but nothing but net.
Win the close games, 12-4 in games decided by 3 points or less. That's the 4th best in the league. On the other hand, the Hornets haven't fared as well. They're 3-5.
Toronto has Vince Carter winning all of these games on the last shot by himself, which kind of helps your percentage. At the other end, they basically do not have a key go-to guy who makes the dramatic.
Eddie Jones with 30 points has the ball. They're trying to trap him outside, and Jones with a pass bobbled by Eldon Campbell, and we're going to have a jump ball. And the 24-second clock expired, so the Hornets turn it over to the Raptors. That is Mike Callahan's call, and a good one.
24-8.
Well, in this situation, we know that the 24-second clock violation would take priority over a jump ball.
Yes.
And it's going to come down to the guys who made the call on the look.
There's the clock.
Now you're going to see this as Eddie goes up. He makes a very bad pass into traffic. The ball is stripped off Eldon Campbell. Now, as the ball is there, you're going to see it here. It's definitely
Loose. Right.
It's 0-0 on the clock. All right.
Before it was held. Yep.
Before it was held. Now, this is good. The three referees are going to talk this over because it's close. Because as we see the clock go to 0-0, we cannot hear whether the whistle was blown.
But it appeared as if the scramble was still going on.
Yes, yes it did.
For the loose ball.
Not by a lot, but it looked like they were still scrambling on the floor. And you cannot call timeout until you have a definite possession, and then in that situation, if the ref is calling a jump ball, two guys must have full possession of the basketball.
Raptors, meanwhile, calling the timeout, and they have 2 remaining. The Hornets have 2 full timeouts plus their 20 as well. And they're still talking it over. Ronnie Nunn with Butch Carter over at the scorer's table. All right, we'll hear the horn, and hopefully, and here it is in real time.
The key is the whistle, because the horn is going to show the 0-0, but the key is the whistle for the jump ball.
Well, I'll tell you, everything happened at once.
Yes,
Timeout,
that's a very, very difficult one for Ronnie Nunn and Mike Callahan and Rodney Mott to decipher. I'll tell you that right now. But it's going to come back to the guy who made the call, and then also the guy who's responsible for the clock.
And they're still talking it over, and now they put 24 seconds on the clock.
Well, it looks like to me they're going to definitely have a jump ball. And that, to me, would be fair, because what it is, it was so close that you would be giving a team an advantage.
So Eldon Campbell will jump. 25.8 seconds remain.
See, now they're arguing about who was in the tie-up.
Right.
All right, now no problem with McGrady, but Campbell. Now you got to cut this off because McCampbell tapped it right back. There it is.
And it's Mason,
loose ball foul.
Loose ball foul called against the Hornets. The Hornets, and Mason has the ball, and they're going to call it against Anthony Mason, and Paul Silas is enraged.
Yes, he is. And Mike Callahan was right on that call. Because as the ball is tapped back, keep an eye to the top. You're going to see Christie right there.
Undercut him.
Yeah, well, you're saying Christie undercut him, but what they're saying is that Mason swung back and had contact with Christie. Now, this is an unfortunate situation. There's no doubt about it, because Christie can tie this game.
84% free throw shooter gets the first roll, and the bounce. His first trip to the line, and shaking his head in disbelief is Paul Silas. And Christie has tied the game with 24.4 seconds. So in essence, the Hornets can play for the last shot. And a timeout called by Charlotte. By the way, Toronto still has 3 timeouts. They were not charged with 1. Charlotte now with 1 full timeout and a 20, going down to the wire, the first of 2 here on TNT tonight. The last shot, and it looks like
they're going to play it straight.
Raptors are going to play it straight, as
yes,
you pointed out. And Christie is on Wesley. And you're looking at the clock as it winds down. Here is Eddie Jones, and he's guarded by McGrady.
2-man.
Looking into Mason. Mason double teamed. Anthony Mason double team, puts it up at the buzzer, and no basket. We're going to overtime as the Toronto Raptors double teamed Anthony Mason, and he had nowhere to go.
No, that was a very difficult shot. Now, the reason why I gave out that option of the defensive team, there are coaches in that type of a situation who want a chance to win the game at the offensive end. And that's why they would go out, trap, go for the steal, foul, force them to make two. Maybe they might only make one. And then all of a sudden you have an opportunity to get the basketball and come down and dictate whether or not you're going to win it or not with a shot.
There are 0.4 of a second, because really what happened is the ball went off the backboard. It did not hit the rim. The 24-second clock expired. So now 0.4 of a second still remain for the Toronto Raptors, and we'll be back for their last effort.
Right, and this Board of Governors before we play next year.
McGrady will inbound, and McGrady looking to Carter. Carter fires it away. No good. Carter trying to win the game on the last shot for the 8th time this year. Ends up sitting in front of his bench as the regulation time expires and we head to overtime.
Now, the Toronto bench, all the players and the coaches thought he was fouled on that play.
They ruled no shot.
Exactly. Now just keep an eye on this now as he comes down in here, as he makes the catch. See, it's over right now.
Right.
See,
No
it's
shot.
over. That's right. No shot. What you have to do is get a guy who can make the catch facing the basket. In this case, when he made the catch, he was going away from the basket and had to turn. No way could you make that and get it off in 4-10.
Overtime coming up. Session all tied at 94. We're even at 57 at halftime. Each team will have 3 times out. Charlotte retains its 20, and there'll be a penalty shot on the 4th foul for each team. So the Raptors going with Antonio Davis jumping center with Charles Oakley, Vince Carter up front, and in the backcourt, Doug Christie and Tracy McGrady, and the tip controlled by Charlotte, and it's Mason, Wesley, Brown, Campbell, and Jones.
2-man game, Jones and Mason.
Oakley trying to deny Mason, and here is Jones hitting from the corner. Eddie Jones with 32.
They've run that play at least 6 times in this game tonight. And by running a guard around and getting that ball and going to the corner, they're relying on Oakley not coming up defensively to pressure that shot.
Christie going in, and a foul is called. And the Toronto Raptors with Wesley picking up the 4th personal foul. In the foul trouble department, we have a slew of players with 5, and no one with 4, that is, and no one with 5 personals. Christie on the line, a dead-eye free throw shooter. By the way, Vince Carter has 27 points to lead the Raptors. Jones with 32 and Mason with 25. Mason with a triple-double tonight for Charlotte.
Christie, very quiet for 3 quarters this evening, has come on strong in the 4th quarter and in this overtime.
Tied at 96.
This is the same play that they just ran. 2-man game again. Now at this time, Eddie Jones goes away.
No basket. Foul before the shot. It's on Charles Oakley. And that is the first team foul against the Raptors.
Well, Oakley is not going to allow Mason to back him down from that area where he is about 10 to 12 feet away from the basket.
Campbell posting up against Antonio Davis. Jones getting a handoff back and lays it in. No, he stepped on the line, stepped out of bounds, and Jones turned it over. It was a well-conceived play by the Hornets on the give and go or end around.
Well, it's the same play that they ran on the left side with Mason. They just ran on the right side with Campbell.
96 all. Minute 10 seconds elapsed here in the first overtime session. Mason playing Carter very tight. Carter pulls back and hits the shot. And Carter now with 29 points in the game. And the Raptors are up.
Yeah, they just ran a beautiful down screen for Vince Carter. I thought Mason played that as well as you could play it, Dick.
But anytime you got Carter up there, you always have to protect against the drive.
Mason driving the baseline is fouled. And Charles Oakley committing his 5th personal foul. So, as you pointed out, all of Charlotte's offense starting on the left side with the two-man game with Mason down low and options off of that. So Anthony Mason on the free throw line, 10 for 10 from the stripe tonight to tie it up.
Well, you remember for years, Anthony Mason would not go down in there in that post-up area because he was always concerned about being fouled because he could not shoot a high percentage.
27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists for Anthony Mason, even at 98.
He's playing a great game here this evening.
McGrady handling the ball for the Raptors, who are trying to get to 500. And a careless pass picked off by Jones, and Christie committing the foul as McGrady arched a pass that was easily anticipated by Eddie Jones.
Yeah, this is just a bad pass. You have Wesley posted up down inside. Eddie Jones is playing the passer. You never pass the ball on a high lob when the 6'6" guy guarding is laying back.
5 steals for Eddie Jones, leading the league once again.
Oh, nice cut.
And a double team on Wesley, and Wesley hits the basket. Wesley now with 14 points, and he has been a marksman from outside. The Hornets lead 198.
Listen, Wesley's lucky he made that shot because Chucky Brown cut right down the middle of the floor, was wide open.
And here's Carter driving around Mason, and he's short with it, and it comes out to Oakley. A new clock for the Raptors. 2.5 minutes remain in the 5-minute overtime session. Carter firing again. Loose ball, Mason has it. Hornets with the ball and a 2-point lead.
Yeah, the first shot by Carter was a difficult angle. The second shot, he had an excellent look.
76ers Lakers. 76ers Lakers coming up next. And a foul called against Charles Oakley, and he has fouled out of the game. Oakley picking up 3 fouls here in overtime. Fouls out, having scored 7.
See, Ronnie Nunn is walking away from Oakley right now, and I like that. But now he just stopped. You just don't want Oakley to pick up a technical foul in this situation. Now, coming in the game is Kevin Willis, who has had an excellent offensive night here this evening.
Willis with 14 points in his first 6 shots of the game. And a timeout called by the Hornets as Oakley fouls out with 7 points and 9 rebounds.
Well, you're seeing here right now, Oakley is not going to allow Mason to post them up. He tried to front him. Now, the major contact was made before we came on the scene and before you were able to see the angle. But Oakley leveled him, not leveled him, but he moved him with a right arm swing.
Hornets with a 20-second timeout, which they had left over from regulation time. 2:16 to go in the overtime session, and Anthony Mason on the free throw line. '76ers and Lakers as soon as this game is over. Hornets still have 2 fouls to give. Each team with 3 full timeouts left. For Mason, playing his best basketball of the season, trying to go 13 for 13 now from the line. And he does, and the Hornets lead by 4.
Well, right now, Butch Carter has approached Ronnie Nunn, the lead official here, to question something. And Ronnie Nunn is talking to the official scorer.
Davis will inbound to Christie with 2:15 to go, and the Hornets leading by 4 points.
Plenty of time here right now. The main thing for Toronto is to get some continuity, get it going, and just play good and get some high percentage shots. The last couple times down, the looks were poor.
8 on the shot clock, and Davis going out to Christie, setting a screen for Christie, and Christie laying it up, misses,
Missed
and
the rim.
the 24-second clock expired. Once again, You pointed out they missed the rim, and a big possession goes down the drain for the Raptors.
That was excellent defense, because as that shot clock came down and they ran a screen and roll, all they did was switch, and it forced Christie to, now I admit he did split the switch and got to the basket, but it was a very difficult shot with his left hand.
And a 4-point lead for the Hornets, trying to win their 5th in a row and take over the 5th position in the Eastern Conference. Wesley driving the basket and scores. No one came in to help, and it is a 6-point lead for Charlotte. 104-98 with a minute and a half remaining in the first overtime session. Mason trying to blanket Vince Carter, the turnaround, and the foul is called against Anthony Mason, and that will send Carter to the line for 2, as Del Curry will come on in for Toronto, the 3-point shooting expert and former Hornet. And going out will be Doug Christie.
Okay, once again, they call Mason for chesting Carter
before the shot.
That's right, and they're calling the foul that he was on the ground, not on the continuation.
Carter hasn't gotten much of a break.
No, and I'll tell you what, he's really upset, because that's at least the 3rd time that he thought he should have had a continuation.
3 on the shot clock, and Carter doesn't get it, and the rebound by Anthony Mason. Frustrating night for Carter, despite the fact he has 29 points.
Well, he got the shot over the top of Anthony Mason, but Eddie Jones came in and got a piece of that shot.
Carter is 11 for 27, and now the Hornets can take command with a basket here, and Anthony Mason, and the rebound by David Wesley, and he is fouled. Very alert play by the little guy, David Wesley, and he'll go to the line with 47.1 left, and a chance to give the Hornets a big margin in the final half minute or so.
Yeah, Wesley, when he makes up his mind with off the dribble to go to the basket, he's very, very tough. And then he is strong enough to go in and battle for a rebound.
He can give the Hornets an 8-point lead right here. 47.1 remaining in the overtime, and he does. It's 106-98, and the Raptors want a timeout.
Good timeout.
Yeah, 8 straight points run off by Charlotte, and Vince Carter and company scoreless in the last 3 minutes. Time running out for the Raptors. McGrady, and 42 seconds to go. Del Curry, guarded by Jones. Here is Antonio Davis, and it's Eldon Campbell who makes the block and gets the ball. Good defensive play by Eldon Campbell, and he is fouled.
Toronto came out of that timeout looking to run Del Curry on the baseline for a 3-point shot in the right-hand corner. They were all over Del Curry. Eddie Jones was all over him, could not get the shot. So now they're looking for a quick 2. Now, when that ball went into Davis and he made his turn for the jump shot, a beautiful strip by Eldon Campbell.
And Campbell on the line, hitting the first free throw. And a chance to open up a 10-point lead here in overtime, as the Charlotte Hornets have outscored the Raptors 14-4 in overtime. And the Toronto Raptors calling a timeout. They will have 1 timeout left with 36.3 seconds remaining. Frustrating night for Vince Carter and the Raptors, especially in the extra session. Away in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, here the Raptors took a 98-96 lead with 3:42 left in overtime, and since then the Hornets have outscored Toronto 12-0, paced by David Wesley's 6 points, including a key offensive rebound. Hubie.
Also applaud their defense. Their defense has been excellent. They're not allowing Toronto to beat them off the dribble. They're forcing them into jump shots, and they're challenging the shot. So nothing is an easy look.
They're playing right up on him in the perimeter as McGrady misses, tapped out by Davis. Curry will fire a 3 and miss, and a loose ball foul is called against the Hornets.
Yeah, Eldon Campbell was up over the top of Dale Davis. by holding on to his shoulder.
So Antonio Davis will go to the line, and many of the crowd here, it was a sellout tonight. Not a vociferous crowd here for this key game in the jockeying for position in the Eastern Conference, because the Charlotte Hornets on their way to moving ahead of the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern standing.
By the way, did I get Dale Davis into this game?
Yeah, well,
a quick substitution. Indiana game was over early.
Right.
Is that it?
Well, he took a quick flight.
Yeah,
right. A quick jet.
Oh, my.
So the foul called here is against McGrady. Paul Silas, who, like Butch Carter, getting an extension. This is his first full year as head coach after years as an assistant here at Charlotte, Phoenix, New Jersey, and New York, and a great 16-year career, winning 3 championships as a player, 2 with the Boston Celtics and 1 with the Seattle Sonics. Anthony Mason, rock solid in this game, and his second triple-double of the season, 7th of his career, and a career high tonight, 31 points for Anthony Mason as he continues to give the Hornets the late season buzz going in. Vince Carter, and that says it all, misses the layup and finally puts it through. But at that kind of night, and for Vince, he's got to hope that he's going to feel good tomorrow when the North Carolina Tar Heels play in the national semifinals. That'll do it.
For a big game like tonight, to play without Derek Coleman, Charlotte, outstanding performance.
And they fall over the Toronto Raptors into 5th place in the Eastern Conference. The Hornets win their 5th in a row, go 40-31 on the year. The Raptors now 40-32. Coming up next, the Sixers and Lakers. And right now, let's go out to Los Angeles and Marv Albert.